Special Locked On Celtics today with actor, comedian, Celtics superfan Josh Gondelman. His love for Marcus Smart, his love for this team, and we try to craft the perfect joke right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Be ever ready. Recognize the city of champs. Boston, baby, we do what you can't. Locked on number 18, Tatum and Brown, J-team, step back. We gon' wet that and slay teams. Of course, the Celtics, who else could it be? Screaming like KG with the Larry O.B. Karalis above average, assessing the team status. Best daily pod, no cap, salary matching. Clutch like Bird the DJ, keep John on replay. Prime time, dapping up the truth on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. B.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast, right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and I'm here for you Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next few weeks, and then we're going to get to that 5-day-a-week grind very, very soon, and then more than that once the season starts. So make sure you're subscribed to wherever you get your podcasts. Hit the show up on YouTube, get into that comment section, let me know what you think. I'm John Karalis. I used to play a long time ago. Now I am covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal, and today, very special guest, Josh Gondelman, who has worked on Desus Mero, who has worked on Last Week Tonight, who is a stand-up comedian. He's a professional, funny person, but also a Massachusetts native and huge Celtics fan. So later on, we'll try to craft the perfect Celtics joke. In the second segment, we get into a lot of love for Marcus Smart, big Marcus Smart guy. But let's just start the conversation here with Josh Gondelman. Josh Gondelman, this is very exciting for me to have you on. I know I've heard you actually on Locked On Raptors a while back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, they got in touch with me. Like, oh, this dude's a big Celtics fan. I had no idea. Like, I knew who you were, but I was like, I didn't know. Then this was like a couple years ago. You were such a big Celtics fan. I know you grew up in Stoneham. Tell me how you just came up. How did basketball, Celtics basketball, come into your life?
I love Celtics basketball. I've been a fan for like as long as I've been able to like choose to listen to things on the radio and watch stuff on TV. I've always gravitated towards basketball, despite I was gonna say despite topping out at 5'9", but at the Jewish summer camp I went to, 5'9", that's a power forward. So I was really throwing my weight around back in the day before I turned 15. But it's been a long time, and I came in kind of at the tail end of the Larry Bird years, back when everyone older than me remembered his greatness, and I was just kind of like, oh, he seems in pain. He seems like he's in pain. And so that was like kind of my intro. But as a kind of across the board Boston, New England sports fan in that era of the early 90s, it wasn't like when a team was bad, you knew to be disappointed. It was all I'd ever known, in growing up into like my early teens, all the teams were pretty bad. And that was just like, yeah, you're a fan of a team and they lose and that's life. And so I remember rooting. I mean, Dana Barros, David Wesley, those are guys that I would watch and love to watch. And I loved loved Tommy on the call. I love Cedric Maxwell. Like I have such an affection for the broadcasters, and I still, through the NBA app, like I love to listen because I can get the local radio still where I live in New York. And so even in my when I'm cooking dinner in Brooklyn or something, or getting home from a stand-up show, I'll listen and listen to the radio call, and it like is really comforting.
That's so fun. I mean, look, got to give you credit. If you grew up on 90s Celtics basketball and you're still here, like that's a long road.
And it was back when I believe every team sent a representative to the All-Star game, right? That was like, and so it was Dino Raja for a few years in a row.
I miss Dino.
Yeah. Right on. Love Dino. Look, all-star, perennial all-star Dino Raja.
One of the last great smokers in the league.
Absolutely how I remember him as well. Like I can picture him smoking during a game, which I'm sure did not happen. But that to me is like my memory of Dino Raja is like cigarette dangling from his lip as he posts up.
Let me tell you something. When I was playing out in Greece, guys were like walking around in towels and cigarettes hanging from their mouths. Like I couldn't understand, like, am I getting like less healthy playing this sport? I mean, what is going on here? But so, yeah, I can picture Dino Raja just walking around naked in the locker room before the media
Just
comes in. Like, oh, wait, let me put his butt out.
Well, that's the legendary Tommy Heinsohn Red Auerbach story, right? Is that Tommy quit and then he was playing terribly and Red made him start smoking again.
I'm so happy you know that story. I'm so happy. So I'd rather see you like, because he was getting too fat. He was getting too fat off the cigarettes. He was like, you know what? I'd rather see you skinny and out of breath than what you're becoming. That, I mean,
which is so funny. Coaching choice. That's like, because I love the like lore and the kind of changing league and the like LeBron James self-mythologizing of like, I spend $1 million on my body every year to maintain peak conditioning. It's like, that's how much Tommy was spending on Parliament Lights.
I mean, imagine if Twitter was around and like that news gets broken.
So funny. It's like truly like it's spectacular. And because even back then, I can't imagine that was like normal, right? Even when people were smoking more, when it was like, oh, this is the thing, like we smoke in restaurants and on airplanes, it still feels like for someone to quit and then be advised to return to cigarettes, it still sounds so like, what a time. That's like back when they were like, just give your baby Guinness or whatever.
It's a very Dr. Nick from The Simpsons.
Absolutely,
you
Dr.
need to
Nick.
keep smoking. So a little bit about you, so people know about you. I got a little bit of your bio up here on the YouTube page. For people who are listening, you are a comedian. You've got a great stand-up show out. I know it's from a couple years ago, but I know it's your pin tweet, which I watched again last night.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
I just wanted to kind of like okay, let me remember some of these jokes. And it's just like really funny stuff.
Thank you.
You've worked on Desus Mero. You've worked on Last Week Tonight. The Last Week Tonight, you got to be sharp. Like that's on point stuff. So that's super impressive stuff. How did you like get into like your road from Stoneham through Brandeis, is it? And then
I went to Brandeis.
into comedy.
So I started stand up between my freshman and sophomore year at Brandeis because it's outside Boston, but close enough that I could get in on the weekends and do open mics. And then by my senior year, I was like working a little bit. Like I would get a little booked work on the weekends, and I had a car that I had my grandparents had stopped driving, which for the best, I think. And so I had this car that I would go out to shows around the suburbs and in the city. And I kind of just stayed. I was a fiction major at Brandeis, and I was like, I'm going to be one of those guys that writes like funny books. I'm going to be like a David Sedaris type. And then I was not industrious enough or talented enough at that kind of writing, for sure. So I just kind of kept pushing with stand-up, and I was doing it all the time. I was teaching preschool after I graduated, and then in 2011 moved to New York and started like pitching little written pieces to humor websites, and was writing a lot of like dating stuff, weirdly, and I was writing for like a lot of women's magazines. And that I had a kind of viral Twitter thing with my friend Jacqueline Moore, the two of us. And I had this back when a parody Twitter account could be a thing.
Yeah.
We had this modern Seinfeld Twitter account that was just modern plot lines of Seinfeld episodes. And that got a little attention, and it got me from being like a guy that was kind of doing stuff here and there and would occasionally get asked to submit to writing jobs to like when stuff started, when there would be openings, I would get to apply. And so that got me in to kind of the mix at TV. So I did a little bit for a couple shows, and then I stuck with at Oliver's show, which I was there, started doing the social and digital stuff, moved over as a staff writer, and was there for 5 years.
That's amazing. Look, you really blazed your own path, but it's a very modern path. It's very similar to like a lot of us basketball bloggers.
Yeah,
kind of create our own way, our own Twitter following. There's a ton of us on the Boston beat. Like
totally, I love the Boston. Like there's a lot of Boston people I check for, especially like in season. I want to see how the Boston media is reacting, especially like you and Chris Forsberg. And I listen to Winning Plays, so I listen to B-Rob, and I still like nationally. I'm like, Pina knows what's up. Michael Pina is the national voice of
that's right.
Of like in touch Celtics fandom. I mean, not to cut off his boss at the knees, who is the international voice of Celtics fandom.
No. But we'll give Pina his credit, which is very well deserved. But I like it's amazing that this generation, and I come from a much earlier generation, but the fact that we're in that sphere where it's like whatever it is that you want to do creatively. And this is kind of like almost like a message to a lot of the young folks who listen and watch. They want to get into something like this, something that what I do, something that you do. You can kind of create your own lane now. Like, again, that Seinfeld Today account, brilliant stuff.
Thanks.
And it's like, you can still go back and like just scroll through it and like that, you get the little tiny interactions that actually like sound like the voices. But like that type of thing, that was good. You can kind of turn a Twitter feed into an opportunity.
I mean, there's people doing like who are actors and comedians that do character reels on Instagram and TikTok. There's like people who are strong stand-ups that spread the word through clips that way online. I really think like there was a period where it felt like, ooh, you can kind of blaze through this wilderness. And now it's almost like a prerequisite that you kind of build your own thing before people take a look at you, which I think kind of speaks to, I sometimes wish that the people on the other side of the industry were a little more industrious about cultivating new voices instead of making them show that they're like some big number of followers before they go, okay, that's a person. But that opportunity is there, and you don't have to wait for, you hear those stories of like some writers showing up at the CBS lot or the NBC lot and just giving a bushel of jokes to Johnny Carson, and that's there. I feel like now you would get tackled and arrested and but there are all these other ways to get your work seen and to like go right to people that would enjoy it.
More with Josh, including a lot of love for Marcus Smart coming up next. First, today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready for this new NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. If you haven't joined FanDuel yet, perfect timing here because you new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you bet $5. That's it. Bet $5, $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Returning customer, you're like, oh man, what do I get? No problem. You bet $5, you get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. So now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is super easy to use. You can bet on anything from spreads to player props to more. So you get those bonus bets. You can put them down on all sorts of fun things. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with an offer you do not want to miss. I'm very happy to have you betting on FanDuel. Just if you do, please gamble responsibly. We are missing out on great stories like that, though. I will say, like Mike Gorman has the great stories of being able to like sneak into the Boston Garden and just kind of like knock on a door and like that security guard, like, yeah, come on in. And whatever. Like we don't have the ability to replicate those stories. Everything you have to do now is online, which, like I just said, it's fun to be able to create that stuff, but we are missing out on some of the industrious, kind of like make your own, like just throw a crumpled like Mr. Carson. Whoosh,
I know, please. But I love I think the online stuff there, it like really can chew up all your attention and time. But like there's people doing like I don't know if you know the Flagrant Mag team that they don't publish their magazine online. Their tagline as kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing is "Digital is dead," and it's like gorgeous hoops magazine. It's so cool. I'm a subscriber, and like just getting to build a thing and go, hey, we're gonna take this to Patreon, and as many people as want it, that's who can have it. We don't have to get millions of dollars of seed money to publish a magazine. We just need as much money as it takes to make the magazine, and that's I think cool as hell. Yeah, that's really cool. And maybe there's like a kind of reverting back. Everything's cyclical. I hope so. I've like really been especially valuing, not to sound like the oldest dude on the planet, but I've really been valuing like the stuff that is unique. Like when you see a show that that where you're like, oh, I heard this song live and they haven't recorded it anywhere. And so all I have is my memory of this live show. And I think like that's so special. Or, you know, things that you can see in a room, like being at a game and like really feeling that feeling in the room. I think people are coming around to how important that is. And this is like, obviously I say this as a striking television writer who's like, yeah, AI can't replace human work.
Yeah. That's a whole other thing.
I know. I don't mean to take you too far down, but I'm just like, this is the headspace I'm stewing in all day, where I'm just like, people can do special things that are like, the digital distribution is really wonderful and gives people an opportunity to be seen all over the world for the wonderful work they do. But there's just like this feeling of like, I saw a couple times I've seen Open Mike Eagle, the hip hop artist, and Video Dave do this song that I like searched for hours online. And then I saw them after a show and was like, where is that song? Where can I listen to it? It's so funny. They're like, oh, we only do it live. And it's just like, and it just like, I'm so glad that I've seen it twice at a live performance. And like, honestly, weirdly glad that I didn't take like a garbage phone video, that I would have this like copy of a copy that like, doesn't sound good, and I just have like my pristine memory of how fun it was to see that.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's really cool. And that's what sports replicates. Sports, like,
totally,
you do have that moment, and you see, I mean, nowadays everybody with, you know, big moment, you get the phone up there,
totally,
and you're like looking around to make sure you see it, and they see, but there is something to be said about put the phone down.
Yeah.
And then you can go to YouTube and clip it. And
totally,
like, you can prove that you were there. It's fine.
And
take a selfie at halftime.
Yep.
Prove that you were there.
Yep. But it's also, I think like those sports moments, even when people are kind of like outside the moment recording it, right? I do think there's something special about like the monoculture aspect of it, of like, we're all sitting down and watching this at once, even like, so even if the memes come like right away and the clips come right away and people are like, have that one layer of remove from the live experience, it's still kind of like, we all watched Pat Beverly grab the camera and bring it to the ref and get the technical foul. And we all went like, yeah, Tatum probably fouled LeBron, but like, this is pretty funny. And they won in overtime still. And it's like, I don't know, the Lakers, how about you try winning by 5 next time? If you're going to complain so bad.
Thank you.
That's but obvious foul anyway. But that is like, it's such to watch that live is so like, to explain that to someone the next day loses the like frisson of, oh shit, this is happening in real time. We're watching a guy try to use photo evidence to convince a referee and then getting teed up immediately. It's so like, it's so exciting in a way that like most things people kind of enjoy on their own time. So I really do like that sports thing of like, we're all here together, even when we're in different places.
So let's talk about the sports thing that you saw last year.
Yeah.
With this Celtics team. Give me, you know, this is, can I call you a super fan? Does that imply that you're out there in a mohawk?
I don't want to overstate. I do already have my buddy and I are getting a comedian friend in New York already has purchased Celtics Nets tickets for February. So I do have that locked in. So I'll take super fan, but I'm like
bestow super fan upon you.
I'm pretty intense about it.
Yeah. So what do you think? Where are you right now as far as the Celtics? What do you think? What do you think of the Marcus Smart trade? Give me your assessment.
It's still Marcus Smart trade are 3 words that still feel like punches to the stomach.
Okay.
So
you're with me. You're in the pro Marcus Smart camp.
Very pro Smart. Yeah. I'm like, I acknowledge that I may be irrationally pro Marcus Smart, which is fair. Like but I don't think this was the right move. Like if you had to trade Marcus Smart, and if it was part of a true, look, I don't want to sound like I'm talking trash about a living, breathing human, but if it was a true superstar player, if it was Marcus Smart has to be part of a trade that brings Joel Embiid to the Boston Celtics, you go, well, we've loved having you, but I understand this move. Mm-hmm. I also think that what Marcus Smart brings to the team has not been replaced. Like in terms of playmaking, certainly, in terms of defense, certainly on the perimeter, but also in terms of like maniac intensity.
Yeah.
We lost 2 maniacs and brought no new maniacs in, except for maybe Logan Walsh, right? Is the rookie's name? Is that? No.
Jordan Walsh.
Jordan Walsh. Logan Walsh is from Veronica Mars, I think.
That is something I have no idea about.
I don't either. I'm going to look it up because it's something I know from my wife.
Is this something that just seeped into? Oh, right.
Yeah. Anyway, that is Jordan Walsh. Yeah. So, but it's
for a second, I was like, "What is his name?"
No, Jordan Walsh, the rookie, who I'm psyched about. But like, they have not replaced. The team hasn't replaced that kind of like energy. Like, I really think speaking of irrational, like you need someone like Grant Williams who's gonna tell Donovan Mitchell he's gonna make both free throws, and then he's gonna miss both free throws, and then he's gonna go, that's fine. Like he's gonna, know, he'll feel bad, but then like keeps going. And I think like that is something we're missing, that kind of like emotional heat check.
Yeah, that's a good way to put Marcus Smart. Emotional heat check.
And he's an emotional heat check, right?
He's just like every day.
How hot can I run on the court?
Yeah.
Like how intense can I be? And I think like that's an important part of a team. And again, I hate to sound like one of those guys that's like, they don't play hard anymore. But like he was a guy that brought so much of that to the table. And I think underrated. Like I forget who it might have been it might have been you even that said it, but like a problem with the Celtics offense was not that Marcus Smart is not a skilled point guard. It's that for long stretches of games, he was not empowered to act as a point guard, right? Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown bring the ball up a lot, and they are immensely skilled superstar players who I love to watch play basketball, but that style of offense does not put them in the best position to succeed with the most ease and fluidity.
That does sound like something I would say. And that is the position that I have taken, is that, and that's my thing with the Marcus Smart trade is, I'm right there with you. I don't think my preference would have been to play with Marcus Smart as your more traditional point guard.
Absolutely.
And run things off of that, and Tatum and Brown can catch, they'll bring the ball up enough because they're wings, they're ball handlers, but get them catching the ball on the move, and let's work from there. But Missoula ball is what it is. Yeah. And if I've come to the place where if you're not going to play with Marcus Smart as your traditional point guard, and you're going to play Joe Mazzulla's preferred style of basketball, then you're not using Marcus Smart the right way, and you might as well trade him at that point, because like that's the emphasis is not on defense. It's an offense first.
True. That's right. True.
And I like everything you've said is 100% true, but now we're operating in Joe Mazzulla's role. So like you and I are on the same page as to what we would want.
Yeah.
But now, because they're going through Joe, this is what they want for Joe Mazzulla, then I have to shift my thinking and say, well, in Joe Mazzulla's offense, Marcus Smart just isn't as valuable. And if they're not going to rely on him defensively the way they used to, then you might as well move him. You might as well try this Porzingis thing. And it's like, it sucks. I'm going to enjoy watching a lot more Memphis Grizzlies games.
I'm like hyped to watch the Grizzlies. I've never been as because I had a Smart jersey when I worked for Desus Mero. I had a Smart jersey hanging up behind my desk, and there's one point. There's some footage of Mero like lighting it on fire when I wasn't in my office. And so like I've never been more psyched to like root for a player on another team. There's other players I love watching, obviously, but I'm like, man, I hope that he really shows in these first, whatever it is, 20, 25 games that John Morant won't be playing, that he's like a strong point guard and can run a team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it would be great to see, because you know exactly what I'm waiting for is at some point in December going, well, why couldn't Marcus Smart play like this for us? And I'd be like, he did. He did play
absolutely
like this.
Did.
Play like this in Boston.
Some of the Marcus Smart slander and that's like the side of Boston that I always like appreciate, but I'm like, come on, guys. Like some of the Marcus Smart slander, especially the last few seasons where he's really he's really played much more under control with occasional, like too much mustard passes, but it's like, you want a guy. It's fine. He's not throwing away games is my feeling. He wasn't making bad decisions with the ball at the worst time in crunch time. He was a guy that like could buckle it down when it needed buckling.
Yeah. 100%. And he was the one guy that could look at Jaylen and Jayson and be like, quit screwing up. Like you guys, are not doing what we need you to do. And now who's going to tell them that? It's Al Horford. It's Al Horford's the guy, and which will feel like a scolding from dad, which maybe that's a little more effective, sorry, Al, but
it really felt like, I don't know. I was a real believer in the Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart kind of core of this team. And I think the rumors of discord when things were bad was like felt a little overblown to me until I hear something, until someone goes, no, they hated each other. I will assume that it was because they are three competitive guys that wanted, and at various levels wanted to hold themselves and each other accountable in a professional way.
I think that's 100% what it was. That's what it was. And then like you hear them talk about it, and media day is a month away. So we'll hear them talk about it a whole lot more. Everybody's going to be asked ad nauseum about the Smart trade and everything else. But yeah, I mean, Jaylen's talked about it. Like they put each other in headlocks and stuff like that. Yeah. That is just something that happens, especially at the NBA level. You guys, they're together from September through, if you make a deep playoff run, through May, June. Like that's a long time in a high pressure industry under the spotlight with, a million podcasts with jerks like me screaming about things and, sports talk radio screaming about things and, Stephen A screaming about it. It's just so many, like, everywhere you turn, people are like telling you suck or you're great. And it's just all over the place. Yeah. There's going to be tensions that boil over. Something's going to happen but like you work in writers' rooms.
Yeah.
Have you not sworn at each other in writers' rooms?
Of course. And doesn't, that kind of, oh, come on. Like, what are you doing? That happens sometimes in a way that like, because when trust is built up, right, you can speak a little more candidly, right? Like you don't come in on your first day and be like, hey, that stinks, man. Right. But when it's people that you've worked with for a long time and you know that you have each other's best interests at heart and you believe in each other, you can speak a little more candidly and let it slip a little bit, right? And not be on like 100% super polite behavior when you have those relationships in place. And I think this team had that. They're not to like name names, but if we're going to talk about NBA teams that were in the finals, 15 months ago and then had some chemistry problems, I would talk about the one where one player punched another one in his head. That's the team that I would go, hey, maybe there's something in that locker room. And that guy's gone too. You know what I mean? Like there's no, like Jordan Poole now plays in our nation's capital.
Ready to score many, many meaningless points.
He's going to fill it up.
Oh my God. I think the odds are that the odds of him being like the NBA's leading scorer just like jumped up on all the sportsbook. Back with more from Josh. We try to craft the perfect Celtics joke. I'm not sure we get there, but we're going to try. It's all next. First, I want to thank everybody for listening to the Locked On Celtics podcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, watching the show. Very much appreciate you making the show part of your regular routine. Why don't you check out the Locked On NBA podcast? I'll be hosting that. It's the Wednesday show. I'm hosting that today with Jake Madison. We'll be recording that after this. I haven't recorded the show yet, so I can't tell you exactly what's going to be on there, but the Locked On NBA show, all the latest news in the NBA. We'll probably talk some FIBA, probably some Team Canada, which is just rolling in FIBA, but plenty of stuff there. So make sure you are watching that, listening to that, subscribing to the Locked On NBA podcast. I guess when you're Draymond Green, you can punch somebody in the face and like, it's
and obviously it was like a big story. And I'm not saying like why wasn't anyone talking about Draymond Green punching Jordan Poole in the face? What I'm talking about is like in a closed door meeting, Marcus Smart will go, or even in public, Marcus Smart will go, yeah, these two guys need to pass more. And people will act like he just said like, I'm going to burn down your family home as soon as everyone walks out the door of it. Like it's truly like it's really that level of Bostonness is so funny to me.
The level of Bostonness. That's the best part. Boston Sports Talk Radio, just talk about lighting things on fire. That's the specialty of Boston Sports.
Totally.
Talk. So how do you feel about this team right now? How do you feel going in? Excuse me. How do you feel of the change? Like, are you championship or bust? Do you think this is the team that's going to do it all, or what?
I'm not championship or bust. I've been more forgiving of the last few seasons than I think some people. Like, I think there are people who think like this team has like squandered its potential or was never going to realize its potential. And I'm kind of still on this journey with these players. Like, I really enjoy watching a lot of these guys play. I love watching Robert Williams III when he's healthy. I'm so excited that he seems to be physically in good shape and hasn't been banged up for a while. I really believe in like Jayson Tatum's continued ability and Jaylen Brown's continued ability to like add skills. I mean, I really like Malcolm Brogdon. But I don't like, I'm bummed out by this trade still.
Yeah.
I think like Kristaps Porzingis is a person with immense basketball skill. He also, his feet are like a third grade arts and crafts project. It seems like he's like, he's sitting out the World Cup, right? The FIBA, because of plantar fasciitis. I think that's how it's pronounced. I've only read it. And I like truly hate to be a bummer, but I really feel like after what the team did, which felt like such a principled stand. Again, there's information that we don't know, but what felt like a team really trying to work on principle in the way they handled the internal investigation of Ime Udoka, and how he has left the team since that investigation. I think that it is disappointing to me, again, hate to be a bummer, that they traded for a guy with a sexual assault charge from 2019 that there is no public resolution to. And so I just feel like I feel obligated to be on the record being like, because I feel slightly unstable that it never gets talked about. You go, oh, maybe there was a resolution, but I just haven't seen it. And it's a bummer that the same team made went from one of these decisions to the other one.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't know what the resolution was.
Yeah.
On that.
And I'm like open to it being like, hey, he was exonerated through whatever, but like that has not been announced to the best of my knowledge. And so like, it just feels like a bad energy move to me to get rid of Marcus Smart, the ultimate team good energy guy to me, for someone who is like, who doesn't seem to have that energy.
Yeah. I'm looking at, I don't know. It's at this point, it looks like it's like a he said, she said.
Yeah.
One person says this is an extortion thing. One person says it's sexual assault. Yeah. I get what you're saying.
It's a pretty grisly situation. And I don't want to accuse a person of a crime. And so
this is
but
valid.
I just want to say like, this is something that's like, that is out there. And it just feels like with certain people, with certain players, it is like, as soon as it's the second team away from some kind of allegation, nobody brings it up anymore because it's impolite or whatever. And so I just wanted to say like, it felt like a bummer, like seeing that trade happen and loving Marcus Smart as a player and like all the great charity work that he does, all the work he does.
Yeah.
My sister is a medical professional who works with children. So all his work with children's hospitals means so much to me. And just like, it's just a vibe downshift at the very least.
Sure. Yeah. I can totally see that from that perspective. And like, look, losing Marcus, like you said, losing Grant, is two people who've done a lot in, charity work and all that stuff. I'm hoping somebody steps up publicly and is like the very public face of, hey, here's us giving back to the community. I know a lot of people will say like, oh, you want to do that privately and not bring attention to yourself. But also, I like seeing the guys out there, and I think it's important for those guys to be seen doing things because, first of all, it distracts like the jackasses on sports. It's like, hey, here he is building a court in, an underserved community.
Yeah.
Here's this guy in a hospital. Here's this guy giving back, building a computer lab or whatever. Like those guys need to see. It's like some people need to actually see guys giving back. And, when your favorite player gives back to a charity, maybe that inspires other people to give back or volunteer or something.
I don't think you need to see like a big check behind them with like zeros and zeros, like to prove how good a person they are monetarily. But I do think I think it was Jared for The Athletic, right? Wrote that great story about the smart cards.
But Marcus Smart. Yeah.
And it's like, I think you're right. I think it's really inspirational. And it shows that like, he's thoughtful, he's showing up. I think you can tell the difference when someone is there for a photo op versus when someone is really invested in the community that, he didn't at first certainly choose to live in Boston, but he really invested in that. And I think, same thing with a lot of players. This is not me saying that the players that are on the team now don't do that. But like you said, those were two guys that were really out in the community doing good work.
I can see somebody. Yes, I can see somebody traveling around with like a big Escalade and just a giant comedy-sized checkbook, just in case the cameras are around. Like, cameras are here. Let's get the big check out. Let me put my name on there. Let's get the photo up.
Totally. And I don't think that they gave off that impression at all. Like it really felt like they cared about about this work that they were doing.
All right, let's finish off on a light note. You are a comedian, sir. You are a professional, funny person.
Yes.
I'm going to do a very Massachusetts thing. I'm going to do very Massachusetts. Oh, Josh, you're a comedian, huh? All right. Go ahead. Be funny. Let's hear some jokes. What's funny guy?
So I think we've got to talk about if we want to do, you were talking before about like the crafting the perfect Celtics joke.
I want to craft the perfect Celtics joke. We are going to, at this point, hopefully, create a joke so hilariously funny they'll be telling it for ages.
Oof, that's a lot of pressure to do here. Coming off cold, right? I'm coming off the bench.
No audience, no nothing. We're
no
just
audience.
Absolutely. So, it's like asking somebody to dunk in their in a 3-piece suit. It's just,
that's how I feel. That is how I feel right now. But
let me ask you this.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the process of crafting a joke? What is the process of coming up with? You come up with a premise, do you see something funny and try to work something into it?
That's usually how I go, right? I'm like, I was talking with, I wish I could remember what writer friend the other day about how noticing things is the job, right? But what you also have to do is notice that you've noticed something. And I imagine that's part of working in sports too, right?
Exactly the same thing.
You watch the games and you see everything that's happening, but you have to clock oh, that is unusual. I saw that and I remarked on it, but I have to note to myself that is either a new pattern being established or the breaking of an old pattern.
100%.
And so that's the first thing is notice that you've noticed something. And so I think, and then you have to go, well, okay, why is this funny to other people? So that's the second part. Sometimes that's the easy part, right? Is oh, I noticed something funny and I just kind of present it and then explain it easy. But excuse me, I'm trying to think of what's funny about this.
So, okay, let's figure out what's funny about the Celtics. What is funny about these guys? I'm assuming some Joe Mazzulla 3-point heavy 3-point. Joe Mazzulla loves the 3-pointer so much.
Yeah.
It's like the old match game. Joe Mazzulla loves the 3-pointer so much. How much does he love?
Okay, so here's I think just kind of the one-liner zinger might be tougher, but maybe we think about a sketch, right?
Okay,
it's like a parody commercial for Joe Mazzulla's basketball camp / taekwondo classes / bubblegum emporium. And so it's Joe Mazzulla. Someone has doing an impression of Joe Mazzulla to camera, and he's pitching this place that is like, hey, I do this basketball camp, but also was it taekwondo, right? That his instructor was at a bunch of games.
It's like jiu-jitsu, like, Brazilian jiu-jitsu.
Jiu-jitsu, right? So it's it starts off right, and you see that it's like tight shot of him talking about how he has a basketball camp. Pull out a little bit more, and you see that he's wearing like a jiu-jitsu uniform. He's like, also, we teach you jiu-jitsu. And then pull out a little bit more. He's standing behind like one of those classic glass candy counters. And he's got gum, and he's now chewing like a comically large wad of bubble gum with tremendous intensity. So look, I didn't beat out all the dialogue, but I do think that's where I would go.
So it'd be like one of those old like furniture, the bad commercials. I'm Joe Mazzulla, and I like basketball. And he's just like, it's just okay. So I can see him like taking the ball and throwing it up over his head, but then the ball goes in like sideways. Like it goes in from a totally opposite angle.
For sure. Or he takes, it's like a basketball sized wad of gum, and he throws it, and thunk, it sticks against the backboard.
Okay. I like that.
And maybe like maybe we shoot it, or whoever is doing the impression kind of gives it the, like the Bernie and Phil's hometown accent. And then there's like some takeoff of his like instead of quality, comfort, and price. That's nice. They're like basketball, jiu-jitsu, and gum.
That's dumb.
Try some. Yeah, that's dumb. I think honestly, this is a pretty productive pitch session.
I like this. This is workshopping where, we're just spitballing.
We have a room
around. I think we got something here. He is a Rhode Islander, so we could do something like, come on down to, Patuxent Village.
Yep.
Some weird like place in Rhode Island. I like that. It's not easy being funny. It's not easy being funny.
I do make it look like it isn't.
You make it look really good. You make it look really easy. But it's true. Like the crafting of a joke is you're doing everything's observational now. It's not like it's not like, I remember there were comedians who'd come out, and like the old guys would come out and just set up punchline, punchline, and now so much is like, I noticed this thing the other day, and you kind of craft like the story
and more personal
around all that. So that's got to be tough, because you're not just saying this is a funny thing, and like, Joe Mazzulla walks into a bar and orders a martini. Like, what kind of martini? 3 olives. 3 things or whatever.
I think right.
Which was a bad joke. It was a horrible joke.
No, I know what you mean.
Come up with an example.
It is so funny to feel like my friend Allison Leiby, who's a great stand-up and writer. She and I talk all the time about what a shame it is that we were born after all the easy jokes were written. Like we're doing professional comedy at a time like, it used to just be like back when someone could be like, the food on the airplanes, that's really small. And you're like, get that guy on the Tonight Show.
Yeah. Now you've got to like recreate your day and be like, okay, I saw this dog pooping. That was kind of
totally.
It's not really, well,
you've got to be like, I have imposter syndrome. What's funny about that? And also, how do I make people my parents' age believe it's real?
Hey, imposter syndrome's a real thing, man. This could be the imposter syndrome podcast for sure.
You're doing great.
Thanks. Well, look, I appreciate you coming on. I don't want to keep you for too long. Would love to have you back on at some point. This is a great conversation, and hopefully soon the writer's strike will end and the studios will come to their senses.
Hell yeah.
Because I want my season 3 of The Bear, like now. Like, when's that going to get written? When is that going to get out there? Come on, people.
That's what's at stake. There's so much. And it's, the writers, I think, really want to get back to work. And it is truly I believe the stubbornness of the studios to offer a fair contract charge, and to actors. SAG-AFTRA is on strike as well.
Yeah.
And so I think, hopefully they will, like you said, come to their senses soon and go, we make so much money. The least we can do is break off a chunk of that, so that the people who are so much of the driving force of this creative work can just have homes and families and stable income.
There you go. We're tying right back to the NBA. They just had a new collective bargaining agreement too. And then things change. But look, the players and the owners split the revenue 50-50. And that's, the players are also the product. And, you guys are also you're out there, you're acting, you're doing all that stuff. So all of that is to say is I want you to get back to work, because you're a very funny person, and we need more funny things out there. So Josh Gondelman, very much appreciate you. People on Twitter can find you, or X, or whatever the hell it's called.
Yeah, I'm everywhere, just at Josh Gondelman on X, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, wherever you find people. And I have a newsletter called That's Marvelous, where all my stand-up dates are listed. So, and I give pep talks every Monday. It's joshgondelman.substack.com is my newsletter, and it's free.
Awesome. Free stuff.
Hell yeah.
We love free stuff. Josh, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me, John. This was a blast.
A lot of fun with Josh Gondelman. Go to all the places he just said, joshgondelman.com. A very funny person, very nice person, huge Celtics fan, Massachusetts native. So go support him, and go support all of the writers who are on strike, the actors who are on strike, trying to get you some fun stuff, fun entertainment. So thanks to Josh. Thanks to you for listening. Thanks to you for watching. Really appreciate you being here on a regular basis. Back on Friday with a new podcast. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Friday for the next few weeks. Then final week of September, I think it's the final weeks of September 18th, I believe. We're going back to 5 days a week. So lots to talk about, lots to get to. Post-game podcast every game this season. So make sure you're subscribed. Watch on YouTube. If you're a regular listener, a regular subscriber, would love it if you shared the podcast. Tell your friends, tell everybody that they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.